Let's review X-Men 97 Season 2, Episodes 4, 5, and 6. But first, we start with Episode 4, which is Part 2 of the Rise of Apocalypse. Takes us back to ancient Egypt, where before Apocalypse becomes Apocalypse, he's still a young Ensabanor, right? And the crew, Magneto, Xavier, the rest of them are trying to convince him and trying to stop him really from becoming Apocalypse and trying to build some humanity in him so that maybe that will change the course of history to prevent all this bad stuff from happening if he becomes Apocalypse. This one was a tough one to watch, right? So you have this sense of hope as they're trying to do everything they can to divert this path, this dark path that En Sabanor goes on to become Apocalypse. And for a moment, you actually feel hopeful that they can accomplish that. There's that scene where they're riding on the horses to try to make a better future, and they're working together. And he's kind of it's weird how human they've made him, En Sabanor, but it's a very cool thing to see, like a different side of him when he was young and talking more like a regular human being as opposed to this very one-sided monster of a villain, right? But even though they tried their hardest, Xavier and Magneto talking to him about the fate of humanity, and Rogue talking to him about love and asking if he's ever been in love before, and she hopes that he finds it because the world may depend on him finding that level of compassion and love for humanity. But unfortunately, it takes a dark turn real quick once they get to the vessel in the temple, where he realizes that they've been trying to stop him from fulfilling his destiny all along, which of course pisses him off. So he turns very quick, eventually gets his armor, becomes full on Apocalypse, and it's just chaos from there. The X-Men or that small team of X-Men were able to get away and travel back to their regular time. Thanks to Beast piecing together the time travel bracelets and bands, and Bishop encouraging them to let's get the heck out of here. Love the line where Magneto's like, Bishop, no need to be a villain here when you have me. And then he forces everyone's band to strap on and activate, and sends them back to their time. Xavier manages to stay back to help his friend, and you get this extremely emotional battle with Magneto and Professor X trying to stop Apocalypse on their own, which of course they fail to do so. But oh man, you get so many great lines from Magneto. Magneto's like the best written character in this whole show. That was true of season 1 and definitely true here as well. Honor me with actions, not your tears. I mean, just so Shakespearean and so powerful. At the end, he fought hard and tried to save the world, save Xavier. But his acts of heroism just wasn't enough. And, you know, once Charles got into his mind, the first thing he said was, I'm sorry, because they both knew there was nothing else they could do. And Magneto says back to him that he's sorry that he couldn't save him. And then you get just this brutal execution of Magneto as Apocalypse holds him by the head, and he's helpless and just full on blast and disintegrates him to where there's nothing left but his helmet, which he very disrespectfully throws. And it was also hard to watch Charles respond to that because Charles, I mean, Professor X, he's always, you know, taking the higher road, and he's always one step ahead. Intellectually, he's always got the right answers and the right things to say to diffuse things or to reason with people. But here, all that went out the window when he saw his best friend Magnus get disintegrated, and he just dug deep. And he knew physically he couldn't do anything. Physically, I mean, he couldn't even walk. He was crawling across the desert to try to get to Magnus. And all he had left was to basically humiliate Apocalypse and say, yeah, your mom should have left you. No wonder she left you. You're a monster. And the world would have been better if you were left out there to rot and die. And that was like such a low blow, but that's all he had left to do. And you felt that desperation in that moment. And this picks up later in episode 6, which is, we'll skip episode 5 for now because we'll get right into 6, because it kind of ties together. You get the repeat of Magneto's death through Xavier's eyes, but we later learn it's part of the Danger Room simulation that he's it's almost like a self-inflicted trauma, like he's reliving it over and over, and he's trying to figure out how to survive and how to go on without Magneto in his life. And of course, that sets off the whole Danger Room thing coming to life and becoming Danger, the supervillain that kind of reminds me of which Superman movie was it where the contraption kind of comes alive and all kind of freaky science fiction stuff. But it's kind of similar, right? The AI has taken over. So the Danger Room becomes its own entity and is stepping out of his protocol or taking his protocol too far and trying to train Xavier and the X-Men to become stronger and to learn how to survive without Magneto. So that's the threat. But then you get Polaris introduced properly, right? So we get to know who Polaris is. She was a former X-Men. You get pictures of her with the old original team. You get references to how she used to be one of them, and then she went off to X Factor. She's a pretty cool character. So she's Magneto's daughter from another woman. And she kind of resents that, right? It's the classic "I'm nothing like my father, I'm my own person" vibe that we get from her. But then you have Professor X kind of inviting her to embrace that part of who she is. It is kind of wrapped in her DNA. He is her blood, and they even say something to that effect, like they come together like magnets, right? That's the bond they have. So he encouraged her to get to know Magneto so that she can understand herself better. And that really played out in many different ways, but most importantly, for her to tap in to that power once he did his mind reading thing and transferred his experience and his relationship with Magnus to Polaris so that she can see the father that she was estranged from, that she never really knew. And she summoned the power of Magneto and saw his acts of heroism through Xavier's eyes, and standing up for other mutants and trying to do the right thing. And all those qualities that Xavier wanted to convey to Polaris. And that was what she needed to fully actualize her powers, which is also magnetism, but in her own style, to overcome and overtake Danger, the Danger Room entity, and to destroy their foe. But then we have the episode in between, which was kind of a break from all of this apocalypse-related stuff. One of the things I really enjoyed about X-Men 97 in season 1 and in this season so far as well is the fact that Wolverine wasn't front and center. Wolverine was pretty much front and center in the original animated show, but also in the movies, right? He has so many movies, standalone movies, and most recently Deadpool, where it's all about Wolverine. So it was kind of cool to take a break from that and to let the other characters in the X-Men franchise shine. And I thought that was a really smart move to write the show that way. But here we have episode 5, where it's really all about Wolverine and his side quests to get his adamantium claws back, right? And that was pretty cool because, everyone loves Wolverine, so we got to give a little bit of airtime and face time with Wolverine. And here it was like a full-blown everything Wolverine episode in terms of let's get all the characters that are directly tied to Wolverine. So you have the team up front, right? So you got Kane, Maverick, Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike. You've got his best buddy, Morph. So they all drop in to check out this Weapon X facility to see what else is going on. He basically lies to them and says, we're going to stop them from doing more experiments, right? And there were other experiments, these alien creatures that they're trying to fuse with other subjects to tap into this brainless obedience and power to build this super army, essentially, right? But at the end, you realize Wolverine's just trying to get his adamantium back, which he eventually does. But man, what a ride, because you get all these characters. It's so weird seeing Sabretooth and Wolverine working together. because they hated each other down to their core in the original show. And if they were in the same room, they were trying to actively kill each other anytime they're in the same room. So to see them like cooperate was fun, but also kind of weird, right? It's just something you're not used to. But it was cool because you get Sabretooth with his snarkiness and his clapbacks, and that was just a lot of fun to watch. But then you get Morph on top of the characters that were physically there. You get Morph changing into a bunch of other Wolverine related characters, such as Deadpool. You also get Silver Samurai, who's one of Wolverine's foes. You get Sasquatch from Alpha Flight, which was Wolverine's other team that he was a part of. And then additionally, if that wasn't enough, you have Omega Red. And if you recall from the original cartoon, he had that big battle with Wolverine as well. So you have actual Omega Red in the tank, and he breaks out, and they got to fight him as well. So this was like Wolverine galore, right? So if you're a fan of Wolverine and all his storylines and all his side characters and foes and arch nemesis, this episode just kind of delivered on all those things. Perhaps most importantly, we see the relationship of Morph and Wolverine develop and progress even more. They were in episode 1 of the original show. Wolverine was really, really upset when they left Morph behind, and that was kind of the catalyst for a lot of the storyline in the original show. So that's been established that Wolverine has a special relationship with Morph. And here you see more of that kind of continue on. Morph is very protective of Wolverine in that best friend kind of way. But at the end, when he confronts him, Wolverine's like, he knows that Morph has something to say. He's like, just spit it out. And there's this whole confrontation of Wolverine's like, I'm just an animal. I'm the best at what I do, and that's all I am. And Morph just kind of looks at him and says, does that make you sad? That makes me sad. And he walks off. And you get this great shot of Wolverine, releasing his claws to make it look like he's looking at himself or looking at his claws. But the way the camera focuses on Morph in the front seat, and not the claws and not his Wolverine's reflection, indicates like he was actually concerned about Morph's feelings in that moment, and he was looking at Morph as opposed to his claws. But he doesn't want anyone to know that he's a sensitive, soft guy down, deep down beneath the rough exterior. So I thought that was a brilliant shot to convey that about their characters, but also about their relationship and what might be going through Wolverine's head. So great episode. It felt a little different because it didn't really progress the main plot and main storyline with the apocalypse stuff and the time travel and all that. But that's how the original show worked too. You had some breaks in between the main storylines, and they do feel kind of random sometimes. I mean, you even got an episode like that in season 1, where Jubilee has her whole video game trippy episode, and that felt totally unrelated to what was going on there too. So that was fine. But I would say episode 4 was the strongest of this 3 that I'm reviewing because of the emotional weight of Magneto's death. It felt very... I don't know which was worse, Gambit's death or Magneto's death, because, I felt both. And it was a very hard watch because it was so emotional and well done and well executed. Wolverine episode was a ton of fun because of all the cameos. And then you have the Polaris episode, which is good to establish Polaris as an X-Men and as a character that we haven't seen much of yet. And then let's not forget the very end of episode 6. We get a shot of Apocalypse bringing Gambit back to life, presumably as one of the 4 Horsemen. Death from the comic books. Gambit's come back and renamed Death. His cards change. His hair is white, but otherwise it's Remy with his smirk back to life. So very excited to see, hopefully in the next, I'm not sure if it's going to be in the next episode or not. I didn't look at the titles, but to see Gambit come back to life even as a horseman. This is kind of similar to when we saw Archangel in the original animated show come back as Archangel in one of the 4 Horsemen for Apocalypse. So Gambit is obviously one of the more popular characters, one of my favorite characters. So let's see what they do with him as an evil version named Death and as one of Apocalypse's henchmen. That's very exciting. Still kind of sad that Gambit actually died, and this is the closest thing we're getting. I don't know if they're going to find a way to bring him back. But hopefully that's the case, because to lose Gambit in his natural form would be an absolute tragedy, in my opinion. So hopefully this is a temporary thing that they figure out. But yeah, that's my review for these the second wave of episodes 4, 5, and 6. What was your favorite episode? What was your favorite moment? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, looking forward to reviewing the last 3 episodes once those have all been dropped as well. So we'll see you in the next one.